My name is Steve White. Welcome to Module 7 of the GSBI Accelerator. This is about preparing for the in-residence and for interacting with impact investors, and we call this the module, the Justifiable Ask. So we've broken into this introduction plus 3 other modules, and so let's get started with the introduction right away. So the whole module objective, as I mentioned, was to have you update your business plan, to strengthen your justifiable ask, to deepen your understanding of the impact investor landscaping, and prepare for in-residence and your original investor meetings. Now, that's all nice words and stuff, but what the real objective of this module is for you and your mentors to think deeply about what type of capital, how much you need, the use of those funds, and the returns for your investors. So that's how we structure the justifiable ask. You've seen this probably in the past when Cassandra talked about the GSBI ARC. This part is all about investment readiness. So when we think about investment readiness, we think there's at least 5 layers that you should be thinking through. The first is that you're going to have audited financial results from 2015. We need a multi-year financial projection with break even, both from a profit perspective and also from a cash flow perspective. And be sure that your projection includes your strategic initiatives. Then the structure of the justifiable ask, how much, the type of capital, use of capital, and return. And finally, working on your diligence folder so that you're prepared to be able to answer questions in detail if you get past that first meeting with those investors. So the goal here is to build a sustainable organization, and that's what we're going to get into. Now, to do this, I thought it might be good to just show you a couple of examples from years gone by. In fact, these are both 2015 GSBI Accelerator graduates. The first one is Eric Sorensen from Carbon Roots International. You can see his entire presentation on YouTube at the link that's provided there. Now, Carbon Roots International is in Haiti, and the problem in Haiti is that they're addicted to charcoal, so much so that they've deforested 98% of the trees in there. And this picture, interestingly enough, is from outer space, where you can actually see the border between Haiti and the Dominican Republic. And as you see, there are not many trees left in Haiti. And so to address this problem, Carbon Roots International has a technique that allows them to take agricultural waste, turn it into char, press it into charcoal briquettes, and so therefore you get a renewable source of green briquettes. Now, they've been doing this for several years, but they've been doing it in a very rudimentary way using oil barrels and using a carbonation technique to create the char, and then using manual techniques and low productivity. So it was very much a batch-oriented process. And what they wanted to move to here was an inline process that was automated and it could be done in series. And so they were going to structure their ask around the pilot production using a machine called a pyrolyzer, and then expanding that initial site for the full production within an initial site with a series of pyrolyzers, and then finally moving to a second factory where we would get full production capacity. So their justifiable ask was initially a grant for $500,000 plus an asset-based loan which will allow them to be able to cover the cost of the pyrolyzer, the initial pyrolyzer. The second was part of their ask was to get to full automation in an initial production facility. That was an additional grant plus another asset-based loan of $350,000. The third part was the scaling, which allowed them to do the second factory, which again was a combination of a variable payment obligation and some asset-based loans. So what you see here is a series of different types of capital. And it's what we would call a blended return for the investors. Some grants, some market returns. And we'll talk more about that as we get into the module. The cumulative impact is the return for the investors from a perspective of social return, is that you get 6.5 million trees saved and almost $50 million of livelihood contribution through the value chain. The second one is different, but also very interesting. This is Kareem from Practice Makes Perfect, and they have an interesting model where they're doing summer school, which allows the students to be able to keep the gap closed from the, shall we say, the melt from their learning in previous years. So you can see their problem statement and their objective through this achievement gap. So over the summer, you get sort of a degradation in what the kids have learned, and it has to be retaught in subsequent years. And so this achievement gap is articulated between what middle school kids are being able to do because they have programs to be able to keep the retention, and what happens to kids in the lower part of the social strata. And this lower income students then have this continuing degradation of their achievement that can be made up through the summer school program. Now, what Kareem asked for was $5 million in funding. And it's pretty nice because that would be 520,000 students have gone through the summer school program by 2020, and 150,000 jobs for summer interns for students of various levels, including high school and college students. Now, there's some issues with this ask. And the first is that while it's assumed if you've been watching the program, it is not real specific about that this is actually grants that he's looking for. And $100 per student plus 150,000 summer jobs is a great outcome. However, he's not clear about, is this just in New York City, or is he asking them to move to and expand to other cities on the Eastern Seaboard or the Midwest? So the other questions that go unanswered are things like, when does Practice Make Perfect get cash flow neutral? And is there additional fundraising that's required to get through this strategy? The last thing that would be good to know if I'm an impact investor is, who are the current investors, and are they going to continue to fund the organization? So that's it for the introduction. We'll be back with Module 7.1 in just a minute.